Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a great day. My name is Jake from Umbrella IT Services, and today we're going to be talking with my good friend Andrew Jackson from North Shore Digital about search engine optimization and digital marketing. If you could please leave a like on this video, it really helps Andrew and I out. And if you want to see more videos like this, then please subscribe to the channel. If you have a suggestion for a future video or a guest, please leave a comment down below or email us at techtips@umbrellaitservices.ca. So now we've got that out of the way. Andrew is an SEO and digital marketing professional who's got over 10 years of experience in the biz. He teaches courses such as digital marketing, SEO, SEM Fundamentals, and Google Analytics at BrainStation, and he wrote 3 digital marketing online courses for the University of British Columbia. Today we're going to be talking about the definition of SEO and why it's important for businesses, nonprofits, and entrepreneurs, COVID-19 and SEO, the future of SEO, and North Shore Digital's approach to SEO. Andrew, thank you so much for coming on today. How's your day going?
It's going great. Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
No worries. I'm very excited to talk to you today. I have a lot of questions for you.
Sounds good.
Could you tell us a little about yourself just to get started?
You might notice a funny accent, although I'll say that you've all got funny accents. I'm originally from England. Been living in Canada since 2008 with my lovely wife and family on the North Shore. And yeah, we met in Japan, and now I've been working in digital marketing for about 10 years. And in 2018, me and a couple of friends founded North Shore Digital, and we do website marketing. So we build, promote, and maintain websites, and we're specialists in SEO and Google Ads.
That's awesome. So you're an international man of mystery.
Yeah.
What's been your favorite part about digital marketing so far? Like, what got you into it?
So the story began really with a good friend of mine who's also a client now, Nicholas Badminton. He's a futurist speaker. He used to travel the world and doing keynotes before COVID arrived. Now he's trying to get into virtual keynotes.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a guy that I met DJing at a party in the year 2000 in London, and we happened to move to Vancouver in the same month. And he is, he's been working in the digital world, and he was teaching a course at UBC
Mm-hmm.
in social media, and he needed help getting it online. And the UBC were transferring lots of their in-person content to online formats, and they needed a researcher writer. And I ended up being a researcher and writer for UBC for 2 years and developed 3 digital marketing courses for them. And that was really the start of my journey. Before that, I'd just, like as a hobbyist, been into social media, having Facebook and things like that. And that was really the start of the journey. I got immersed in the strategy of digital. And then after that, because I had UBC on my resume, I started getting offered different digital media specialist roles. And really, I took it on from that. And it was interesting. The journey began with social media, really. And back then, social media was like this big promised land. Yeah, it was like going to solve all the world's problems, and it was going to solve all business problems. We were all going to have a voice. It was the democratization of technology. And since then, I've moved from social media to website strategy to SEO, and that's really where I'm at now. It's more, I shy away from the social side. So YouTube, things like this are a bit alien to me. I'm not really big on social media anymore, although I go on LinkedIn quite often. As my friend describes LinkedIn, it's Facebook for people going places.
Mm.
So sometimes I'm on there just checking out what's going on in careers land, but more and more I'm just working on website stuff, and really that's the tale of my journey so
Gotcha.
far.
Very cool. I'm finding myself doing the same thing, getting away from social media, focusing on the craft itself a lot more. LinkedIn is the only thing that I'm really checking as well. It just makes more sense. A lot more
Yeah.
productive stuff going on there. So I know that you mentioned that you have a co-founder here. Could you tell us a little bit about your co-founder as well?
Yeah, so he'd be an awesome person to get on talking about online ads, especially Google Ads. I've done Google Ads since 2014, so around that time.
Mm-hmm.
And my business partner Ira Thompson, he's UBC graduate. He grew up on Texada Island. He's a local BC guy, and he's just awesome at Google Ads. He's really good at analyzing campaigns and getting really into like getting the CPC down, the cost per click for businesses, and really working on conversions. So like whatever your business is after, whether it's leads, whether it's sales, we have most of our clients that we do Google Ads for, it's lead generation. So they're trying to get more and more inquiries for their business through their website or through calls or through email. And what we do is we track when that happens, and our aim is to get the cost per lead or the cost per conversion down. And so one of our taglines is making data make sense. And I think that's where we really focus. We focus on the analytics and trying to show that what we do on digital, what we do with online ads, what we do with SEO, it's really relates to your business metrics. That's what you want to be focused on. So that's what we focus on too. So we try and make whatever's happening with your website make sense with your business objectives.
Yeah, I've spoken with both of you guys before, and you guys are quite the potent combo. I do really like your guys' data-driven approach to things, and I think that's a really big advantage to SEO, is that you guys are actually able to look at the analytics, look at the data, and you're able to actually see how people are progressing with this kind of stuff, day to day, month to month, season to season.
Well, the problem is, sorry to interrupt, Jacob,
No worries.
just to add to that point. The problem with Google Analytics and a lot of these platforms now is they're getting more and more sophisticated and more overwhelming. Like back in the day, Google Analytics was a bit more stripped down, a bit more simpler. And now it seems like you need a degree to navigate it. And often, like I don't really use Google Analytics for major reporting. I try and use visualization software for that. However, it's good just to go in there and dig around when you've got an answer to a certain question that you're looking for. But you can get lost in Google Analytics. So what we want to do for clients is really have a 1 or 2 page report that really focuses on their business objectives, and then how that translates to what we're doing online. So the traffic, the engagement, the inquiries, where the inquiries come from, and giving them important information that actually matters to their business.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you today so badly, is because there's so many questions that I have with all of this kind of stuff. It's very overwhelming nowadays. There's the problem of the flood of information. Like 10 years ago, it was, like you said, the Wild West. It was an endless realm of opportunity. And then now today, it just seems like we're just drowning in options, drowning in information. And it's just a never-ending flood. And it's really nice to be able to have experts like yourself. We had another interview with a gal, Gabby Dickert. She runs another company that does a very good job, GD Commerce. They focus more on online marketing, this kind of stuff, online stores. But having people like yourself to ask questions for is just fantastic. So can you break down what exactly is SEO? I know it stands for search engine optimization, but what does it mean exactly?
I mean, what it boils down to is just trying to get found on Google.
Okay.
Yeah, so trying to get found on Google, but not paying for it organically. It means like, rather than going through an ad, it's an organic ranking. So it's a natural ranking that Google is analyzing over 200 different factors, and then it's based on the keyword and based on your location. It's then spitting out results that it thinks. It's almost like a recommendation of where Google thinks that you want to go in terms of a website. And really, it's so competitive now. It's getting more and more competitive. Like, do you know how many websites there are in the world?
I do not. Billions?
Yeah.
Trillions?
Yeah, billions. So last year it was, I think at the start of last year when I checked, it was around 1.8 billion. It's already up to 2 billion. So it's expanding. More and more websites coming out there. So more and more competition to rank. And on top of that, you've got other factors. So what percentage of clicks take place on page 1 of Google? Do you know?
95%.
I'm putting you on the spot here, Jacob.
Yeah, no, 95%. Like I said, I got questions. I don't have answers. I would say 95% happen on the first page of Google.
That's yeah, it's close to that. It's like 92.5 last time
Yeah,
I checked.
that makes sense.
So you're either on page one or you're nowhere.
Yeah.
And it's tough to get on page two for some competitive keywords. So it's really finding sweet spots of like where you can rank and what your keywords are in terms of accuracy for your business, and then accuracy in terms of what your target audience is searching for. So it's
So,
like matching all those things together and coming up with a keyword strategy, and then creating content that ranks for that.
so what
I
is
know
it?
I've delved into more the nuts and bolts of SEO there, as well as giving you an overview, but I think it's important to sort of go over that.
Yeah. So you've mentioned now keyword quite a few times. What is a keyword, and can you give me an example of what a small business would kind of look for when they're talking? When you've mentioned optimizing your SEO as well, so what is a keyword, and how can I use those to optimize my business's SEO?
Yeah, so I guess keyword, I could say query,
Hmm.
or when you're using the search box to type in a query, or more and more people are using voice search. That's something we should chat about as
Oh,
well.
really? Interesting.
Yeah. So like over 50% of users are now using voice search, which brings its own challenges for SEO, because it's more the queries are more like questions and more natural. It's more natural language. So it's like things like where to order pizza from tonight, that kind of thing. Or like what is managed IT services,
Yeah.
rather than someone just typing in short like a short keyword like IT services. Um, so that would be an example of a keyword for your industry. So like managed IT services, managed service provider. But around that, you'd be looking at, okay, what are all the services that we do? So it's cybersecurity, is it VoIP, is it all sorts of different things? And so what you want to work on as a business is, what are the keywords I want to rank for, and where do I want them to rank? So coming up with that strategy is almost the starting point when we work with people.
So when you mentioned ranking, is that just me having that keyword on my website a lot? Is that something where I might have a picture uploaded where I've got that keyword in it? How would I improve my ranking for this kind of stuff?
Okay, so let's go back to SEO and a bit more of an overview.
Hmm.
I always talk, like when I'm in my class at BrainStation, I always talk about the holy trinity of SEO. And so there's three big things that if you get right, you're going to do well for your ranking.
Mm.
Okay. So the first one is content. So content is king. It's it's really the thing that you want to make amazing on your website. You want to have it very informative. You want it to be unique. Um, Rand Fishkin from Moz talks about 10 times content or 10x content, where you're trying to make it 10 times better by making it really well researched, really well thought out, and just making it engaging so that people stay on your website. So there's that aspect. So making sure you've got great content. The second thing is user experience.
Hmm.
So you want to make sure that the user experience on your website is super slick, it's fast, it's responsive, so it works on all devices. Like when we do web design now, one thing we can do is look at all the different viewports and make sure that it looks great, it performs great on all the different devices. So that's something you want to make sure happens. And it's more and more important now. Over 50% of visits happen on mobile now for most websites, most industries. Actually, your industry, it's interesting. Most of your keywords, it's like 70 to 80% desktop visits
Mm.
in the Greater Vancouver area. But it just depends on your industry. So you want to look into that. But generally, mobile is really important. Google does this thing now called priority mobile indexing.
Mm.
So this means I'm jumping around a little bit here, but Google does essentially three things. Okay, so it crawls, so it looks for websites, it indexes, so it categorizes websites, and then it ranks them. So these are the three things that Google does. And think of it like a library. So Google has to find the books, it then puts them on shelves in categories, and then it acts like a librarian. It actually advises people what to read. So that's the power of Google. And if you think of it like that, the indexing part, the categorizing, what happens is it's actually the Google smartphone bot that crawls your website and indexes the mobile version first. It doesn't look at your desktop version. So how you perform on mobile is getting more and more important, and it's actually now starting to affect your rankings. So that user experience, the second thing, is super important, and making sure that you work well on mobile devices. The third thing is links. So there's three different types of links. There's external links, there's backlinks, and there's internal links. Backlinks are links from other websites that link to you, and it's almost like they're voting for you. They're saying this is a good website. And it used to be that you could game the system, and this is where you got all these spam links appearing on all these different websites. And what happened back then, it's called Pagerank, Google's algorithm that started off why Google became the best at SEO at search engines, is because of their algorithm called Pagerank. And back then you could game the system. You could just get tons and tons of links from all these spammy places, and Google would put you near the top. Now they've countered that. There's 200 different ranking factors and a lot of other things that come into it. So what you want to focus on is quality links, not quantity. So get backlinks from sites that are relevant to your industry and to your location. And then you also want to use external links. You want to link out to other relevant sites. So it's kind of weird when you design a website, you want to keep them on your website. So often you're thinking, I don't want to link to other sites because then they might get distracted. They might go somewhere. But research has shown sites that have a lot more external links to relevant sites, not spam sites, they have much better SEO because Google sees them interlocked as part of a system and sees how you connect with the wider world. And you're not just all about yourself. So it's kind of a nice message. And then the third one is internal links. So making sure that the internal linking structure of your website, all your main pages on your sites have links to them from blog articles, and just it's all to do with the user experience, making sure everything's relevant and nicely laid out for them so they have a great experience on your website.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's so interesting.
Sorry.
No, that's absolutely fantastic, to be honest with you. That's so much information, and I'm going to be rewatching this and taking notes for sure. That's so interesting that you say that, because I do notice that it's usually if I'm Google searching for something technical, or if I'm just Googling for some daily news stuff, I do tend to notice it's usually the same websites coming up nowadays. And I've noticed that these people all link to each other, like, for example, New York Times, Washington Post, etc. It's just always interlocked, and it's always, as you can see, we got our source material here, and it just goes to Washington Post if you're in New York Times, and vice versa. So the link thing is very, very interesting to me. And you mentioned there's 200 different ways that it does ranking. That's incredible. So how does a normal person kind of manage all that stuff? It seems like, again, it's kind of a situation with my company where it's now a necessity for you and I to exist, because for someone who owns a hair salon or someone who owns an accounting firm, trying to keep track of these 200 ways to rank, that doesn't seem to work very well. I think a better example, honestly, would be a plumber or an electrician, because when people are trying to find those services, it's very immediate, and it's just, I got a pipe that burst, I'm gonna go on Google, I'm gonna search for burst pipe repair or plumbing Vancouver or whatever. Like you said, my pipe is bursting, Siri, help me out. And being able to rank number one there could make or break a business. So it's really interesting to me how much this has changed. Because when I was looking at SEO stuff, it was write a spammy blog that used the same word over and over again, link to your own website in the header or something like that, and make sure that you've got a fast website so Google ranks you high. So again, really, really appreciate the information there. That's a ton of good stuff. So what specific benefits do you think most businesses can really expect if they manage to nail their SEO? Is it just coming up on the first page of Google? Have you noticed any other benefits from having good SEO? Do clients actually comment and say, you've got a really nice website, I found the blogs really valuable? Or do most people kind of sidestep that stuff? What's your experience?
So SEO is a part of SEM, which is search engine marketing. So it's
Hmm.
like a branch of the tree. And
Mm.
really SEM is all about trying to get more clicks and more impressions within Google search. And I talk about Google because that's the search engine that most people use in North America. But it really matters, if you're in South Korea, it would be Naver. If you're in Russia, it would be Yandex. So you have to first think about who you're trying to reach,
Hmm.
and then you optimize for that search engine. Um, so if you think of SEO as part of your SEM strategy, then it's just really about trying to boost the authority and reputation of your own company so that you come up in search, so that when people are searching for queries that are relevant to your business and to your products, your services, that you appear. And for some places, like it might be the first time they come across you. So you have to make sure that your SEO title and your SEO description, the things that Google show in the search results, are really well thought out. They're really well written. They have your keywords in there. And really, you're trying to get people to click through to your website. So they have to have some kind of enticing description. They have to make people want to click a little bit.
Hmm.
So there's all that you've got to consider, and also within SEM you've got other things. So you've got advertising. So it's not always about like, okay, some companies shouldn't go full into SEO. Like if you're a plumber or a painter, you might not want to spend hours and hours writing blogs, which
Exactly.
is typically the way you rank. What you might want to do is get a nice site together that's like simple, like maybe 8 pages that is everything you need, and you SEO optimize those as well as possible. But then you have a Google ad campaign where you know that if you can get a qualified lead to maybe book a consultation with you, if you can get that for $50, you can work out, okay, this is really good. I can just keep going with Google Ads because there's a lot of margin in that. If I can get a qualified lead for $50, a job that I do is that, thousands of dollars, maybe $10,000. It's a really good margin. So you just keep pouring more and more money into Google Ads, and you can survive off doing that. You don't have to go full in on SEO. You have to weigh up what's the right mix of Google Ads versus SEO. The other thing is there's other things like Google My Business. So that for local SEO, you want to fully optimize your Google My Business profile. You want to put in all
Hmm.
your services, all your keywords. You put in your service areas. So this is telling Google exactly where is relevant for you. So you're more likely to show up for your website in the search rankings when you combine it with all these, they call local SEO signals, so that
Hmm.
you're integrating everything together. And so there's a huge mix here, but ultimately the benefit of SEO is this. I mean, this is what it's sold as. It's free clicks.
Hmm.
Once you're ranking for SEO, you're really getting that traffic for free. And so it's like the holy grail of search engine marketing, because you're not having to pay for those clicks. I would argue that you are paying for those clicks because you have to invest in content strategy. You have to develop great content. You have to have a really good website. And it's not really something that you just set and forget. It's like you have to keep going back to these articles and updating them, making them better. And so you have to decide what's the right mix for your company. Is it to go full in SEO? Is it to have a mix of Google Ads and SEO, or is it more to lean on Google Ads? And the other factor there is, with a new website, it typically takes like 9 months for you to start ranking.
Hmm.
So is that something, if you've bought a new domain, is that something that you can afford to do? Just sit around and wait for it to start ranking in 9 months' time? I mean, it depends on the keyword and the competitiveness and where you are, but generally, we always say to light the fire, to get the fire started, you need Google Ads. That's like the kindling, and then you want to build up your SEO in the background so that you start ranking for the keywords that you're bidding on with Google Ads. And so it's this mix. It's like a recipe that you want to put together that's not the same for every company, but you want to work out exactly how much Google Ads, how much SEO, and how that changes over time.
That makes a ton of sense. So you've answered about half of my questions.
So I get
So,
quite excited about this stuff.
no, no,
I
it's
didn't
fan.
realize I was going to be so into it, but no, I love this stuff. It's just really it's one of our taglines is helping awesome people succeed online, and
Mhm.
that's really what motivates us. Like if we don't really like the person we're working with, or we're not really into what they're doing, it's not quite the same for us. So we really want to invest in people and help businesses do well, like businesses that are doing awesome stuff. We work with a couple of B Corps and just to help them succeed online. It's very fulfilling actually. And so that's a real motivation and why I get quite excited about this sort of techie stuff.
Yeah, no, I'm on the same page as you. We take the same approach, and again, I have a tendency to rant a little bit. People know me for that, so no worries, man. Again, this is super, super valuable information. Really appreciate it. So you did mention that SEM is kind of the tree, and then you have branches of this tree like SEO, Google Ads, Google My Business. What are some of the other branches on this tree?
So I would say the 800-pound gorilla in the room is is Wikipedia,
Hmm.
and so
Really?
if yeah, so one of the best pieces of information I've been given about SEO is to Wikipediafy your page as much as possible. And you've got to balance things up. Yeah, like Wikipedia is long and it's kind of it could seem drab to a lot of websites. Like in terms of like having to have this certain structure, you have your anchor links at the top that go to all these different parts of your article. But the key thing is why it ranks so well for SEO, apart from getting a lot of links from other websites because it's got such good authority. But the key thing is long form content
Hmm.
about one main keyword or one main thing, and that's why it has the ability to rank so well. And so for your business, for some of my clients, they're professional speakers. They appeared in the media. They have lots of TV stuff that they've done. Yeah, they can actually write Wikipedia pages, and
Hmm.
this gives you an enhanced authority, and it also shows up number one for sure when people are googling you or googling your company. So I would ask a company, can you get a Wikipedia page? Um, and what that means is Wikipedia has very strict rules about the criteria that you can appear if you're a living person. It's
Hmm.
actually easier to get on there if you're a dead person. Um, like you have to be very notable. Like whenever you write something for Wikipedia, they say, "Oh, this person's not notable enough," or it's
Hmm.
you. So you have to look through their criteria and see, oh, is it possible to get someone on there who's done some great thing, maybe an inventor for your company, or
Yeah.
maybe your company has invented some unique stuff. Then I would look, or is it possible to get on there? So Wikipedia is something I would shine a light on and say, look at that.
So you
Um,
recommend that we pretend and we fake our death to boost our SEO. That's going to boost the numbers.
yeah, if you want to take it that way, not exactly, but yeah, I prefer living people to
Okay,
dead
gotcha.
people. Yeah.
So you did mention as well that you want to look for somebody who's going to do your SEO and your SEM, who's going to build you a Wikipedia page, see if they can do that. What are some other signs of a good digital marketer or a good SEM marketer?
Before I move on to that, I must
Hmm.
qualify that you can't actually get paid for doing someone's Wikipedia page according
Hmm.
to Wikipedia's rules. So you have to be a bit careful around that. Yeah, maybe you just you can charge a fee for writing an article type thing if you're an agency or if you're doing that for someone, a consultant.
Yeah.
There are creative ways around it, but just be careful around that.
Yeah.
Wikipedia is trying to be like this, community of, editors that are doing it for the love of information, yeah, and the spread of proper information.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so just be aware of that. In terms of a good digital marketer, there's a few things I would mention. Like one, you wanna gel with a person that you're gonna work with. So make sure you have some kind of connection on a human level. And I would say
Hmm.
that about any business. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
absolutely.
you don't want to work with people that you don't gel with. That doesn't make anything fun. I think business should be fun. There should be challenges, but it should be, you should have a good time doing it. Um, that's the first thing. The second thing is like, make sure they're transparent, and also work out, your how you're going to measure success for anything you do online. Don't let them, don't let someone you're working with, an agency or a consultant, don't let them dictate what success would be like. So you've got to tell them, this is what I'm looking for. These are the goals. So ultimately, I want more revenues. I want more leads. I want more engagement on my website. I want more inquiries. I want more traffic. And so what you can do then is you can set up, what we do is we set up a dashboard of website goals that then every month we can actually look at and record it down and see, okay, we're going up, we're progressing.
Mm.
And ultimately you want to have that dashboard that tells you, is it successful what you're doing? You don't want to always be guessing, is it working? You actually want it to translate to real numbers. And that goes back to the analytics and making data make sense that we talk about at North Shore Digital.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense as well. And again, one of the reasons why I like your industry so much, and what I'm trying to kind of do with my company is get into that metrics, because we do that already. I've been doing that for years and years and years now with my clients, where we sit down quarterly, we review everything we've been doing, and there's statistics and there's numbers, and it's boring, and a lot of people don't like it, but it's very easy for them to see, okay, the number of automations has quadrupled and the number of downtime has gone down 90% or
Right.
95%, and all of our productivity is going through the roof, and I can see people are collaborating, and I can see people are doing more with less. And there's so many benefits to being able to work with a company that says, here's a, and transparently say, this is where you were when we started, here's where you are now, and here's where we're going to get you. And having that steady progress that you can show off by using tools like Google Analytics, or other, I'm sure we're going to get into some other tools that you recommend shortly. Being able to look at these tools and say, when you hired us, you were getting 1,000 views a month. Now you're getting 100,000 views a month. You know, and yeah, your conversion rate went from 5% to 20%, but our goal is to get you up to 25%, or whatever a reasonable number would be. So I do really, really like working with people. Like you said, you got to gel with them. They've got to be transparent. They've got to be honest. And personally, I don't really like working with vendors unless they're crazy like you and I are, where it's just eat, dream, sleep, whatever it is that we're doing. Because again, you go to a party and people are like, "Hey man, what's going on? How are you?" It's like, "Oh, good man. Just reading a Cisco manual again." And it's like, "What? Like, didn't you watch Game of Thrones?" No, no, no. There's this seminar on this new firewall technology that came out, or this data loss prevention email service, and it's just invigorating, man. People are just like, okay, so I'm not going to talk to you for the rest of the night. But I do really like those prerequisites that you mentioned before you work with someone. So, segueing over to the tools that you would recommend, the tools that you kind of use to track this stuff. What do you recommend folks use while they're trying to develop their SEM strategy?
I'm sorry to keep doing this to you, but before we move on to the next
This is
question, I've
perfect.
always
No,
got
please
something
do.
to pass on.
Please do.
So there's a couple of things here. Like, so one is, we be careful with digital marketing because it is the Wild West. There's not
Hmm.
really an industry standard or a certification, and so you want, if you're going to work with an agency, ask them for like some past case studies, or like how what they've done in the past relates to what they're going to do for your industry or for your company.
Hmm.
um, and check their Google reviews. Are they authentic? Are they real? Are they is there a lot of them? Check what people are saying about the company, because anyone who's doing a really good job is probably going to ask their best clients to write them a nice review. So just go and check that out.
Yeah.
um, that's one thing. The other thing is, be careful with what you're setting up as a metric, because measure what matters, and be aware that you become what you measure. Because if you set the parameters around like inquiries from a form or phone calls, and you say, oh, I want to boost phone calls by 100%, then all of a sudden that is what the campaign will look like. You will start to do actions that try to increase that. So make sure you set the metrics and you work out, this is actually the things that we need. So often it's like when we're dealing with a client, it's trying to get to know them and understand their business and what it is their objectives are.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so we can only be as good as that engagement is, or that information is. So make sure you're clear in what you're trying to do, and communicate your business and exactly what your objectives are, your marketing strategy. And then what we can do is we can run with that. We can translate that onto online, onto website marketing. And so just be careful to set the right metrics, but also remember it's iterative. So like campaigns change over time. And if you
Mm-hmm.
decide, okay, phone calls, I increased phone calls by 100%, but half of them were just time wasters, then all of a sudden you might go a different direction. So it's a constantly evolving dialogue between the consultant, the agency, the digital marketer, and the business owner, the marketing officer, whatever. And so, yeah, just be aware of that.
That makes a lot of sense. Again, it's the same thing in IT. You got to make sure that what you're doing, you have a very high touch relationship. It's really
Yeah,
important to touch base at least once a month, and you need to make sure that, like you said, the metrics that you're measuring matter. Because if you're, like you said, you have 100 phone calls, you go up to 1,000 phone calls, your conversion goes from 10% to 1%. That's not an improvement. Like you haven't improved anything. So what other steps do you recommend people make before they get started with SEO? So obviously define your metrics, make sure you mesh with the person, make sure that the person is reputable, make sure that the person has a good strategy and does business the way that you'd like them to, where they're being held accountable, they're being transparent. Is there anything else that you can recommend to SEO specifically that people should look out for, or that people should keep in mind while they're picking a service provider?
yeah. So at North Shore Digital, for our monthly SEO clients, we have like an 8-step SEO process that involves, as the last step, like an hour consultation used to be in person sometimes, but now it's more like on Zoom or Google Meet,
Mm-hmm.
and also monthly content. So like working on actual new content, and that's kind of like the final 8th step once we get to that. But the one of the crucial first steps is actually setting up an analytics system. So a lot of people might have set up Google Analytics for their business, but they've just kind of, put the code on their website and then they've started gathering data. Many clients haven't even got to that stage, by the way. So just be
Mm.
aware when you start with Google Analytics, that becomes year zero. Google can't show you analytics for your website before you've actually set up Google Analytics. So that becomes like year zero. You start recording from then. And so, setting up the analytics, the parameters within which you will judge the campaign is a crucial step. But before that, you've got to go through a brief, like a campaign brief. You've got to work out, okay, what are your business goals? What are your website goals? What are the key things to measure? And it goes back to something we used at UBC in a course. It's a framework called GOSAM,
Okay.
so GOSAM. And you can use this as a framework to map out any campaign or any project you're working on, not necessarily digital, it could be your life. But the GOSAM stands for goals, objectives, strategies, activities, and metrics. And it's a cascading waterfall of dependence. So your goals determine your objectives determine your strategies, your activities, your metrics. And really, you can use that as a framework to map out, okay, my business goals are this, my objectives are this, which, like smart objectives, there's, they have to be specific, they have to be measurable, achievable, they have to be realistic, time framed, all that stuff. All goes back to like business 101 and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to work on this framework or have an idea of this And then you can then, where the digital marketer will come in is really the strategies, the activities to be done for your website or online for SEO, for Google Ads. And then the metrics will be determined based on your goals and objectives. And really, you want to be able to see that on a monthly basis, like I mentioned, as a dashboard, so you can see whether things are getting better or not. So the more clearly you can communicate your business goals, the better the digital marketing will become.
That makes a lot of sense. Um, okay, so back to the tools that we were discussing earlier. Do you have anything else you want to go over before we dive into that?
No,
Okay,
I
perfect.
think it's
Awesome. Okay, cool. So looking at the tools that people are using nowadays, you mentioned Google Analytics more than a few times. I would even call the GoSam a tool, technically. Like we do something as well. It's a service industry thing. It's called PPDIOO. So it's prepare, plan, design, implement, operate, and optimize. It just makes sure that what you're doing, you've listened to the client, you've prepared everything that you need, you've planned out what it is you're going to be doing, you design it in a way that makes sense and checks all the boxes for the clients, you implement it based off of your plan, and then you operate it for a little while, you review what you've done, and then you optimize it. So it's very similar. Again, I'm sure that your business could adapt that. I do like the GoSam method as well. But I would consider both of those to be tools just as much as Google Analytics or something like Hotjar, where you're able to track where people's mouses are going to see what it is that they're interested in on a website. Do you have a list of tools that you prefer to work with or that you recommend people use if they're just getting started with this stuff?
there are so many. That's
Of
the thing
course.
with digital.
Let's go with the
You know,
top three or top five.
yeah, I mean, I would start with the Google suite. If you want to rank on Google search engine, you've got to go straight to the horse's mouth, for all your data. So go, learn how to use Google Analytics, learn how to use Google Search Console. And then also Google My Business. I would start with these. These are the most important for SEO. And then I use Google Data Studio, which is a visualization tool, so that you can put Google Analytics into all these different widgets and make it focus on things that you want to focus on, and add these different filters for things. So you can create really cool looking, easy to digest reports
Very
rather
cool.
than just the drab, like Google Analytics plowing through all those. They've got dashboards in Google Analytics, but they're not very good. They you can set them up and experiment with them, but generally they're not that useful compared to uh, Google Data Studio and being able to really visualize things. So um, and I'm talking there for the business owner and say the C-level suite within a company, because sure, you've got loads of data analysts who want to really get into the data and the back end of everything in the website, but generally you want to be able to communicate things at a higher, more meaningful level. And so that's what we use Data Studio for. Um, Google Analytics really is about what's happening on your website. So it's like tracking, where did they come from? What are they doing on your website? And then that's what really that tool's about. Google Search Console is really the step before. It's like, how are you performing within Google Search? And it's all linked to a website. So it's all seen through a parameter of your website. And so you can see on Google Search Console, like how many keywords you showed up for in search in the last month.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, and so you can see, okay, I got 1,000 impressions for, I don't know, IT Services Vancouver, but I only got 20 clicks. So, why was my click-through rate only, at that level? And if you look at where you're getting lots of impressions and maybe not as many clicks, this means you got to go back and work on your SEO titles and descriptions that are showing up in Google, because people are seeing them and not clicking. So maybe you just need to improve the language that you're using there. But be aware also that it's important what keywords you put in there, because this is the low-hanging fruit of SEO, and that is to fix your SEO titles and descriptions so that they have the keyword for each page that you want to rank in the SEO title and the description.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but you don't want to spam it. You don't want to make it look like a bot has created it. It needs to feel human, and it needs to also feel like you want to click through. And so there's all sorts of stuff you can get there in Google Search Console about impressions, clicks, based on a keyword, based on the location. It'll show you where the person is that's seen the impression. So an impression is just when you show up in the search, but not necessarily that they click, they just saw you for a keyword. It'll also show your average position, so your average ranking, but it's done nationally, so it's not that meaningful unless you're a nationwide company. But the other thing is about Google Search Console is it used to be called Google Webmaster Tools, and that means it's like the ability of someone who's looking after a website to go and communicate directly with Google about what's happening with your website. So, for example, say you do a bunch of updates and what you look at in Google search is not quite showing the right thing. You can go into Search Console and ask it to recrawl your website so that it updates. Generally, Google will crawl your website lots of times a day, but you can monitor that. You can actually see how you're being indexed. Is it the smartphone bot or is it the desktop bot? And my bet is if you're any kind of website now with any traffic, it'll be mobile. It's all indexed through mobile, the mobile bot.
Yeah.
But you can also see, this is getting into more technical SEO stuff, like what structured data or what rich results you're appearing for. So there's all this other thing now. I mentioned the holy trinity of SEO, but as well as that, it's like, a myriad of all other different options of things you can optimize. And one thing I would tell your listeners, your watchers, your viewers to look at, if they haven't got into that and they really want to dig deeper into SEO, there's a few things. And one of them is Schema or structured data. And that's like when you search a recipe, it's the data that shows up in the back end of a website that actually has like the picture. It has like the time it takes to cook a recipe, the calories, all this information that you can add as metadata at the top of a web page so that Google can show your page better to people in search. And Google Search Console will show you what kind of rich results you're appearing for. So I would suggest your viewers to have a look at that. And there's all sorts of tools around that. Like, we typically use WordPress, and I can go on. I could speak for hours about the best plugins for WordPress for SEO, but one of them there is called Structured Data Schema for WordPress, and that's an amazing plugin that can help you with getting these rich results. There's also AMP, Accelerated Mobile Pages, so it's more important this for like media sites, and you mentioned things like New York Times. They're all using accelerated mobile pages. It's all the stuff like if you've got an Android phone and you swipe left, you'll notice a lightning symbol, and that means it's the AMP version of a page. And it's like it's Google's stripped down version of your web page, and so it's got very rigorous like rules about what can appear, and it's just like HTML and everything else is stripped out of it. Like for WordPress, there's an AMP plugin that can generate this version of your blog pages, and even your normal pages it can as well. But then it's almost like it's creating a new version of your website to be served fast on mobile, and that's why Google developed this. Google doesn't want people to be hanging around on mobile waiting for things to load, especially if you're on like a 3G network, 4G network, whatever, and you're trying to download things. So this is the way that they force like web designers and websites to serve ultra fast content for mobile. And so there's always new developments like this that you have to keep in touch with for SEO.
Mm-hmm.
And the new one that they're coming out with now is called Google Stories, and it's like in 10 slides you can like show the information of a blog post, and you've got to develop like this whole, it's like a little reel that you develop. And so there's always new stuff to try and keep up to date with. So the best thing you can do is like follow search engine blogs. There's a few like real good industry leaders, Neil Patel, Brian Dean. There's a guy called Alex Chris. So Neil Patel has an amazing keyword tool called Uber Suggest,
Mm-hmm.
and he actually bought this and then like put it onto his website, and through it grew his business an amazing amount and got all these extra visitors, and I think he paid like $1 million for it or something like that. Don't quote me on some of these facts.
Yeah, I was doing a little bit of research into SEO before the show, about a week ago before we had you on, and now my Instagram, my LinkedIn, my Facebook, it's all this Neil Patel guy. All of it. Like all of my ads are like, this one secret from Neil Patel will blow your mind, and this toolkit from Neil Patel, you've never seen anything like it. So I'm familiar with him. You also mentioned low-hanging fruit of SEO. So really quickly, how do you feel about clickbait? Is it useless with SEO? Is it useful as another branch of the tree of SEM? For example, I just post this video as Andrew Jackson, SEO, digital marketing strategies, and then I'll put it up on YouTube and just make a comment about what we're talking about. But I have a friend of mine who runs another business that helps with international tourism and international students, this kind of stuff. And he's always posting the clickbait stuff where it's like, you won't believe what this house in Vancouver has to offer. And then he'll put like a picture of something crazy in the house or whatever, Like, have you noticed a benefit to using the clickbait strategies?
Yeah, so so we've got a checklist, an SEO checklist for when you're
Mm-hmm.
developing content, and one of them is to try and use that a little bit, but
Mm.
only in as much as is appropriate for your brand.
Yeah, you don't
Um,
want to be a cheese ball.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
that makes
it
sense.
definitely works for YouTube, and I think your strategy with these videos could be you have a long form, more in depth piece of content. It's almost like the Joe Rogan model of podcasting or YouTube, and it's like you have the long form thing, and then you have like little short videos where it's like then you could get into more of the clickbaity titles for that.
Yeah,
It just depends, and then but it definitely helps with click through rates when there's certain words that can be used that really get people like, oh, I've got to click on that. And so, when you're on some kind of dodgy website and you see those things that appear at the bottom, and you won't believe how this celebrity looked when they were 12
yeah,
years old. Picture 7 is amazing. And then
yeah,
you're like, I'm
exactly.
on picture 3. How do I get to picture 7? You know? And
Yeah,
like it's just, but it's horrible. Yeah, like you've got to think, okay, you might be able to get people to your site, but does it match with the messaging when they're there? And like what's the whole purpose? I mean, I would say focus on the people that matter rather than everyone. Yeah, you're not
yeah,
trying to get everyone to your site, just try and get the people who are actually going to convert, or the people you're trying to do business with, or the people you're trying to relate to, whatever. It's like I don't know. I think we're missing human qualities more and more
I agree.
in everything we do. And often with digital, it's like, how can we game the system? Just be real. Just do it properly.
Yeah,
Try and be a good human being. I don't know. I'm
100%.
getting on my high horse here, but
We had Kevin McLeod on. He's the CEO of WordSite Security and the CEO of Yardstick Services, also on the North Shore. And he's a very good guy for WordPress as well. That you mentioned that. But another Kevin that we were talking to, I don't know why I just jumped from Kevin to Kevin, but another Kevin that we had on the show as well. He actually, I think he called marketers locusts or something like that. He was saying that this new fad of just figure out what the keyword is, figure out what the buzzwords are, jump into a sector, totally just spam the hell out of it, lose all of the humanity, just figure out the formula that works and hit it, and then jump to the next sector when you start to kill it. Like he said, email marketing 10, 15 years ago, amazing, golden, perfect. And then marketers got into it, and now no one reads email anymore. And then 5 years ago, Facebook. Everyone and their dog was on Facebook, and it was really cool. And now it's gotten to the point where if I get a Facebook ad, I think it's creepy, and I don't even like to look at them anymore. Again, this Neil Patel guy, I was like, okay, this guy's a scam artist. But now that someone as professional as yourself has recommended it, I'm actually going to click on these ads and look at what he's talking about. But it's very funny to me how you said you want to bring the humanity back to it. And that's another one of the reasons why I think that you've done so well, is because you're trying to focus on the reality of the situation and the people behind the service, not getting lost in the technicalities and the formulas of trying to drag as many people in, which is why I kind of asked about the clickbait stuff. So you mentioned the Neil Patel thing as well. So do you have any other people that you recommend people follow? Any market leaders? Any people that I can follow on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, etc.? Learn a little bit more about this stuff as I'm doing the daily news scrolling.
I mean, yeah, Brian Dean at Backlinko is amazing as well. It's
Mm-hmm.
called backlinko.com. He's really the don of SEO. I think Neil Patel has like risen above him recently because partly because of Uber suggests this keyword tool.
Mm.
But there's search engine journal, search engine land, but a lot of these things, they're like, it goes in so much detail, and it's really just for SEO people or
Yeah.
like, or like business people who are really trying to learn about SEO. You can, there's constant articles every day about the smallest thing, like the latest algorithm released by Google and what it means for different industries. They're the sort of stories that appear in my Android, where I get my Google stories, and I skim through a few every day, but just to try and keep up with everything is like it's almost like a full-time profession.
Yeah.
So I would dive into things a little bit, but Neil Patel's really good at like business strategy and how to do it well online. So he's a good one to start with. We've got a blog as well, North Shore Digital. Everything's a work in progress. We're finding we're at the start of our journey. We currently work and look after about 42 websites. And the one that always seems to get neglected is our own. So
Yeah.
we do. It's like the mechanic that doesn't look after his car.
Exactly. It's the
But
same thing for me.
we
You come home, my cable management is a mess, as you can see with the TV behind me. I just don't care. I don't want to deal with it. I deal with it all day, every day, and when I get home, I don't care. So I totally get where you're coming from.
But we do have some good blog articles there. So like there's one, it's called the Fundamentals, Search Engine Marketing Fundamentals. And it was written as like a response to all the stuff that I teach at BrainStation, and it's very in depth. It was almost trying to do a Wikipedia article about search engine marketing.
Mm.
So maybe I can share that link with your viewers as well in the comments. And
100%.
then I've actually got like a private page on my site for my students at BrainStation for like all the resources I use for search engine marketing, and it's password protected, but I could share that as well with your viewers and put that in there so they can skim through it. And within there's all sorts of resources like the top 10 plugins for SEO for WordPress and things like that. So it's a treasure trove of stuff that I'm always updating. So I can share that as well so that you can look at different tools. One tool I will mention just as a nice little thing to check out is one called, your viewers might know of it, but it's called builtwith.com. And so it's like, what is the website built with? So say you've got someone, a competitor, or you've got a website that you've found and you're like, this is killer, this is great, how did they make this, or what are they doing behind the scenes on this website? All you have to do is go to builtwith.com, put in the website, and it will tell you like what it's built with, the CMS. It'll tell you
Very
like
cool.
all the marketing tools they're using, and that is really good for research, like when you're checking out websites and trying to check out how people are doing something cool. So yeah, I would recommend using that. But there's all sorts of stuff like that I put in my resources in this page for my students at BrainStation.
Yeah, we'll throw all those links in the description for sure.
Cool.
One thing I was going to say is I'm going to start using that tool because a lot of the time what we end up doing is something called a who is search. I'm sure you're familiar with that. Because
Yeah.
when we're taking over control of some of these companies, a lot of them don't know who the webmaster is, and a lot of them don't know, was the old IT guy managing this? What's the deal? Blah blah blah. And we have to try to figure out, okay, how do we break into this domain? But being able to actually figure out, okay, your website was built on WordPress.
Right. Right.
Like a lot of folks, a lot of lawyers, a lot of financial people, there's a lot of professionals out there that just don't maintain their site, and they just assume that we're going to be able to get into it right away. So I'm definitely going to check out that website there, and start using that with my clients and just say, oh, okay, you have a WordPress site. Who has the credentials for this WordPress site? And do you know
Right.
how much you're paying for this plugin every month? Because it says here it's $29.95 or $15 a month, whatever. And there's a free version or there's an updated version, whatever. But
Yeah.
that's really good to know. I'll make sure to link to all that stuff. Um, that's awesome, man. I do have to ask you about the zombie apocalypse stuff, the COVID stuff. Regarding that, I'm assuming that you're probably in the same boat as us, and you've noticed an increase of services, and you've noticed an increase in the benefit for your clients of using SEO. But I won't assume here. What's been your experience with the whole COVID situation so far? Are people benefiting from doing digital marketing? Are they still kind of struggling and shrinking? Um, what's been your experience?
Well, I have to put that all through the lens of our company, and that is that, although we've been going for about 2 years, it was really just me freelancing for a couple of years
Yeah.
until like late last year when we incorporated in November. So we're pretty, we're a baby really. And my business partner only joined full time April 1st. And then I have another colleague who works on this with me. So there's three of us. And then we have a development team that helps us with our website projects. So that's where we're at. We were still like growing, and then COVID came along, and we were like,
Mm,
"Oh my God, how's this going to affect like everything we're doing?" Like my business partner left his full-time job in order to jump ship and devote himself to this. And what happened at first? It was interesting. Like Google Ads, probably, maybe 40% of our clients got in touch with us and said, "Oh, I think we're just going to pause our ads and see what goes on,"
mhm.
in terms of COVID and like the lockdown and like just being able to work through business costs and revenues. And then what happened is they all came back within 2 weeks because they realized that they couldn't meet people and do business as usual. So their leads were drying up. So actually, they came back, and in many cases, they increased budgets because they wanted to do more on digital. Everyone was at home, everyone's using the internet,
Yeah.
everyone's doing research. Like Zoom itself is just an incredible story. They went from 10 million daily users to over 300 million users daily in a
Yeah.
month. So like if think of what COVID did for them, and for us it was a similar sort of catalyst. So we were able to double, I think, our Google Ads clients within the sort of 2 months of lockdown.
Hmm.
And part of that I think is because my business partner was working on things full time again,
Yeah.
or for the first time with us. And so that certainly helped. So it had him, but it also had, definite interest in people, changing where they spend money rather than, maybe using mail outs, using like cold calling, using meeting people in person. It was more, okay, the website has got to be more important and getting people to the website. So SEO and especially Google Ads, it's just kind of with anything where COVID was really good for Google Ads because it's kind of like within a specific time frame and you want things to happen instantly. So with Google Ads, you can, you've got to work out a strategy behind the campaign, but you can get things going within days and start getting clicks. And you
Hmm.
can start changing all your messaging to meet COVID. And so one thing we did is we put out a blog article, like 5 tips for websites for COVID.
Okay.
And yeah, and so it was like a lot of it was showing, like how to build a COVID page, how to keep your community in the loop about how it's affecting your business. But so one of them is about Google Ads, and we saw like at first the competition was going down, the cost per click was going down, and we saw conversions going up. Just just as a general rule. So we were like, okay, this is a good time for you to actually do more Google ads.
So your
Um,
clients are actually directly benefiting and getting more conversions since COVID.
I mean, I would say as a general rule, yeah, like, so we work typically with three sort of verticals. Is our main industries. One of them is property or home related, and so within that we've got realtors that COVID really messed the obviously how you did property deals.
Yeah.
Like open houses, things like that. Everything changed. So it's hard to make one rule that's specific across like all our clients. But say within trades, like we work with some painters, we work with a home inspector, and they typically were getting better value from their Google Ads campaigns. They were getting more inquiries because the old method of getting clients was sort of dying, and harder to do. So that's one of the verticals, sort of like the home property related. The other one is financial advisors. So more and more like people weren't meeting in person, so virtual financial advisors or like digital financial advisors. This kind of keyword became more important. And then another one is IT services, and like yourself, I'm sure you were just everything became intensified as
Yeah.
everyone started to work from home. You're having to deal with virtual private networks and setting all that up and having to do more work. So it just
Thankfully, we
depends
were
on the
prepared
industry.
for most of that stuff. Thankfully, we were ahead of the curve on that. There was a couple
Nice.
of crazy weeks there where we had some backlog, but yeah, for the most part, we were ahead of the curve with that. Very, very, very thankfully. We've already had everything set up and configured. The big challenge for us was getting into people's computers, getting them actually connected to the VPN on their home machines, which of course we don't manage. It's a personal device. But
Right.
and then some clients had to purchase dozens and dozens of laptops to be able to be used at home and in the office. But thankfully, again, we did have most of our clients transition over to laptops before this happened. I was being laughed at in probably early January because I was like, hey guys, I think this is going to be a problem pretty soon. We should probably start moving over. Because I saw these videos of people in China and Iran just dropping. And I was like, this seems kind of crazy. I was walking around town wearing my full respirator and goggles in the middle of January. My staff's like, you crazy? Do we work for a crazy person? Um, but yeah, things have been intense, as you said. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. What other challenges have you had through COVID?
Um, that's really it, man. To be honest with you, we've had to expand a little bit more because again, there is more demand now that people are working from home. There's some unique challenges there. Like they're not working on managed networks anymore. Like you said, they have to be using VPNs that are secure, and they have to be using remote desktop or other solutions that we provide for them that are very secure and simple. But for the most part, it's been really smooth sailing. It was just that initial 2 weeks, I think, in February, where we had 1,000 people just say, hey, our personal machines need this set up. We need to make sure that everything is steady, and we need to make sure that we're able to access our work stuff from our personal machines. That was the biggest deal, was trying to navigate that water of what's acceptable use for personal devices, etc. But it's been a really good blessing, to be honest with you. I always try to position it with my clients that way. It's a very good opportunity to restructure. You're going to be able to look at your organization from the top down and say, okay, now is a very good time to develop all of the policies that we haven't been developing. It's a very good time to organize all of our systems in a way where we have people laid out by organizational units. Those organizational units are composed into groups of people, and we're able to get all of that stuff kind of broken up for them. And when they come back from COVID in a couple of months, I hope they're going to come back in a much more organized fashion with a lot more policies, being a lot more efficient, and people will kind of be used to this transition of, okay, you know what, 20% of the workforce is now going to work from home, and we've got
Yeah.
all of these collaborative tools. We've got all of these unique ways of communicating now that we weren't leveraging before. We've got an interview with an accounting firm coming up, Gray and Associates with Brian Gray, and I was talking to him, and I kind of got him and his team set up on Microsoft Teams about 2 weeks ago, I think. He'd been kind of pushing it off and he didn't want to do it. And he finally tried it out after we set it up for him months ago, and he was saying, this is amazing. Like I have staff working from home, we're working on the same document at the same time, we're talking with each other, we're sharing things. Hey, look at this, I've got a beach background, so he's all excited about stuff like that, and it really is, in my opinion, again, a very good way to kind of exhibit and start using this technology, because I'm a big fan of automations. I'm a big fan of, again, the same sort of approach you are, looking at what a business is doing, what is the 80%, what's the 80% of value being generated by their 20% of actions, looking at what workflows make up those actions, and then using the technology to automate away a lot of the mundane nonsense, and looking at the statistics and the analytics to make sure that that stuff is going to be able to be improved upon. So, for example, again, if you have somebody whose job is data entry, perhaps you can set up an automation where that data entry gets automatically finished, and that person can now analyze the data 4 hours a day instead of inputting it 4 hours a day. They're going to get a tremendous amount of value from looking at that sort of information. If you look at things like email collection, there's so many different ways to kind of leverage the technology now, but the biggest improvement has definitely been collaboration, communication, and flexibility, I think. Those are the biggest benefits to come out of this. I think it's a really good opportunity for people to restructure and start using services like yours, because, again, a lot of people like myself, I've never done digital marketing, I've never done sales. It's been at the back burner for me my entire life. I've always been a referral guy. But now that I have all of this time and there's all of this opportunity in the digital space, I really wanted to reach out to someone like yourself and kind of learn what is out there and how my business can start leveraging it. And I'm sure there's a lot of other people in the space that are going to have similar questions. So I do really appreciate you coming on today, Andrew.
No, it's been great. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Do you have anything that you'd like to promote before we wrap up here?
I mean, like I mentioned, we have social media, but we're not totally active on it. It's more like placeholders for when we do get our act together. Really, our website, northshore.digital. But if you want to speak to me, call me. My phone number's on the website, or email me. I like human contact, human connection. I'm pretty busy at the moment. So do bear with me if you reach out, and I'm a little bit slow in getting back to you, but I do check my emails pretty regular. At the moment, I'm like into things like deep work and actually getting things done and focusing on tasks. But just check out the links. We're gonna put some links in the YouTube video, so check out the links and hopefully there's some useful stuff there for you. I'm all about being an open book. The sort of abundant mindset is what I'm all about, sharing and learning from each other. So hopefully there's some utility there. And if you have questions, just let me or Yeah, Jake.
That's fantastic. Yeah, well, I'll make sure to throw all your stuff in the podcast descriptions, the YouTube description, all that stuff. I think we'll link to your BrainStation as well for folks. And then we're going to link your email, your LinkedIn, all that good stuff. And then I hope to have your partner on soon, and we can probably talk to him about some Google Ads strategies and get some more info there. But yeah, this has been absolutely fantastic, Andrew. Really appreciate you dropping this knowledge for us. I learned a lot. I hope the listeners learned a lot today. And yeah, thank you so much. And I think that about does it for the interview. Is there anything else that you would want to cover before we wrap up?
No, just good luck with the future of this, podcast, whatever you want to call it, YouTube video channel. I think it's an awesome idea to talk about stuff to do with the community and then how IT relates to it. And I think it's an awesome initiative you're doing. So I'll be supporting you in the background and trying to, look at what's coming up next.
Thank you very much, Andrew. It's made possible because of awesome people like yourself. So I'm really excited to learn more from other business owners in the community, like you mentioned. So, alrighty. I got to do this, but if you could please leave a like on the video, really helps us out. If you want to see more videos like this, then please subscribe. And if you have a suggestion for a future video, please leave a comment down below or email us at techtips@umbrellaitservices.ca. Please make sure to check out the links in the description. Andrew's going to give us a ton of knowledge. I hope you have a great day, and we will see you all soon. Bye.